Got a successful design with the vice grip clamp. I spent, I don't know, maybe three and a half, 4 hours in SketchUp making a more refined design. And I built the prototype from that, which is right here. Hang on, let me undo the clamp that's holding the end in here. You can see it right here. And I posted a blog article this morning on talking about this kind of stuff right here. I know I've done a lot of videos lately talking about this kind of stuff, but you know what? To be honest, it consumes a lot of my time. I mean, these things don't come out of thin air. I mean, a lot of thought, a lot of work goes into taking them from rough ideas, even if they're someone else's ideas. I mean, clamps have existed for a very long time. However, you know, when you're going to build them from wood, you have to think of new and innovative ways to, you know, deal with problems. And this is a good example of that. I mean, this would work really well with steel, of course, because it's made from steel, the retail one. But it takes more than just looking at it and saying, well, what if I make the parts from wood? Because there are so many things involved when you do that, like the size of the parts, the location of the pivot pins and all that stuff, the actual way that the thing functions, how it locks and all that. It's all very time-consuming and tricky to get all this stuff put together. So this is what takes up a lot of my time, you know. It used to be that most of the stuff I would do on the fly, very much like this. Even though I spent a lot of time in the past thinking about it and you know, I actually sat down and tried to design it a couple of times. I didn't try very hard, okay? In the end, I just started building it, and I think that I came up with a pretty good design here. Now, okay, if I had my time back, I would add another gear so that it would make it, first of all, a little bit longer. Because a lot of people have said, okay, well, why don't you just, you know, raise the blade? Well, who wants to do that when you don't have to? And that's what something like this makes possible. You want to change your blade with the least amount of effort possible, and this does it for you. And that's the reason why I made it. I've got a number of very big projects coming up. Some of those are going to be furniture builds, and a couple of other ones are going to be very involved workshop projects, and I'm kind of torn. My intention from the beginning was to do these bigger projects, because I've been planning these for a very long time, is to do these projects in the form of a online course, in that you would have to pay for it as a course to watch all the videos involved and also to build it. It would include the plans as well. The upside of that for me would be that, okay, if they actually sold, which there's no guarantees, then I would make money from that. And making money is important, because that's, you know, everybody needs to live, and this is what I do for a living after all. However, it does increase the amount of work I would have to put into it. Like, I could build these things relatively quickly, and I could make a build video for them relatively quickly, and I think I would still do that. I would make a build video, just probably a little bit more concise than normal. I wouldn't show as many details. But when you're doing a course, you need to include a lot more detail. And that's where all this extra time would come in. So I would have to spend a lot of time methodically going through each part of the build, and of course filming that and documenting that as well. So what that does is it makes it a lot more like a job that I'm not looking forward to starting because of all the work involved. Now, it's not that I don't like work. I'm working all the time, of course. It's just that if I start doing that, then I'm going to have to let other things slide. I mean, I'm not going to be able to put out regular content as much. I don't think I will anyway. Unless I could do something along with it. I mean, one thing about doing this kind of stuff, I believe, and I've seen examples of this, if you don't stay with it, like if you don't continue putting out at least semi-regular content, YouTube is going to punish you for it in one way or the other. They're going to make it so that you're not getting as many views. And we all live and die on views, basically. So one thing about doing this course that kind of gives me another path to make money from this, the much needed money I need to live. And it further, say, insulates me because I started making plans, and that started becoming a significant part of my income maybe 2 years ago. I mean, in the beginning, nothing, basically. I mean, a couple sold, but I mean, it doesn't amount to very much. It's very much like the video thing that I was doing here. I had a full-time job when I started making videos, and my first payment from, actually, most of it came from the website. Very little came from video. The first payment I received was an actual check. At the time, Google was still doing checks. Was $136, I think, for well, it had to break over a threshold of $100 before they would send you a check. Basically, I don't know how many months were involved. Probably 3 or 4, but it grew from there, thankfully, and I'm where I am now. But, you've heard the saying about having all your eggs in one basket, and that's not a good idea. So, the course idea is an attractive one. However, there is a massive amount of work involved, and not only just to do the course itself, is to set everything up. Because currently, there's nothing set up for that. I'm set up basically on the website for articles and to sell plants. And the rest of the income from the site comes from advertising. If you visit my site, you'll see ads on the pages, unless you're running an ad blocker, of course. You'll see ads on the page, and I put those ads there from Google, and I get a big share of the money that comes from those ads. It's something a lot of people don't understand about ads. They think that Google is the only one profiting. No, it's the owner of the website or the producer of the video that profits as well, in a big way, in a way that a lot of this content wouldn't exist if you couldn't make money from it. I mean, it's a basic idea, right? It's like a lot of things in this world. It doesn't exist if you can't make money from it. Like I talked many times before about views going down, and eventually to the point where the money I make from this would be going down. But I was probably exaggerating that a little bit, not knowingly. I just assumed that, okay, things dipped and then they would continue to fall. But they never did, actually. I'm not saying that it's continually going upwards at the same pace as it was before, but it's not going down like I expected it would. So that's a good thing. I'm still making enough money from this to live, which is also a good thing. And so far, I've been able to resist I don't want to call it easy money, because some aspects of it are hard. I know that when I did it a couple of times before, it really made me sick of the process. But the advertisers or the sponsored videos type thing, I've been able to resist that. I mean, okay, I've watched a few channels before, and it was clear that the channel started with the intention of, just to show what they were doing. And then at some point, it took off, and it made it possible for them to get sponsors. And then I could notice an immediate change in the quality of the content. Like, I can recognize good content when I see it. I'm not saying the content is bad. I'm saying that it more or less exists when you have that kind of thing happening as a means to provide space for the sponsors. And like I've said many times in the past, I started this not to do that. I started this to show what I'm doing because I'm good at it and I like doing it. I'm doing it anyway, so I thought I would show it. And if I can make money from it, that's all the better. I started doing that to show you what I'm doing, to deliver what, the ideas that I have to you, not to eventually get big enough to deliver you to someone else, an advertiser or a sponsor. That wasn't my goal. So I don't know, part of me wants to continue on my merry way here, where I occasionally make a new plan, and that's a very stressful, a lot of hard work involved. But it's fairly brief as well. Or shift over to this course thing, which I don't know how successful it will be, and I don't know how much work is involved in getting everything set up. So that kind of makes it daunting, like I said, just to even get started. Because, okay, if you're comfortable, which I am, maybe too comfortable, actually. If you're comfortable, you want to stay that way, It takes discomfort to motivate you to try to do different things to improve your situation. Or at least it always has for me. I mean, I didn't get to where I am today by, somebody giving it to me. I worked hard for what I have. And a lot of that was motivated by not having anything. So, I mean, if you start off with, you're flush with cash, you really don't have to worry about stuff. You can basically sit around all day. Then the motivation goes down. The drive goes down. And I can't say I'm at that point now, but I'm a lot more comfortable than I ever have been in my history. And I don't know if anybody has said this, but comfort and complacency and happiness, I guess, are the antithesis of creativity. Okay, you need to, if you're a creative person, you need something to work against, some obstacle, I guess, some reason, some real pressing need to get things done. So part of my operating philosophy here has been to kind of artificially, in my mind anyway, pose these situations where, okay, this money stops because I stopped doing it. And so in order to not for the money that's coming in stop, I need to keep doing it. So I don't give myself permission very often. I do occasionally, I don't give myself permission to slack off. I can take the day off, I can take the week off, I can take the month off, but I don't do it because I know if I do that, eventually I'll get to the point where the money that comes in won't be enough to live off of, and I'll have to do something else. And, when you're in a situation like this, it kind of seems like that's not such a bad thing until you get to that point. And I know because I've been at that point before in my, life. I've gone through a lot of changes from the time I was young up until now. Maybe more than the average person, or maybe less than some people, for sure. But quite a number of changes have taken place that have kind of informed me that the best strategy is not to take anything for granted and to keep pushing as much as you possibly can. So the courses thing is kind of a double-edged sword in that way. In one regard, it gives me more of a challenge and like more opposition. So therefore, increases my chance of being satisfied when it does succeed. I left that out. I mean, I was talking about the clamp before, and how when I made the mock-up, it worked after so much work, and the benefit of that positive reinforcement right there, when something that you've worked hard on works properly, you know, and it really encourages you. It increases your level of satisfaction and makes it possible to continue on. When something doesn't work right off the bat, then that's really discouraging. So, yeah, the courses thing would be, you know, that times 10 or times 100 maybe, and could turn out to be the best thing I've ever done or possibly the worst idea I've ever had. And I won't know until I actually do it. So I'm going to do it. The other thing is, of course, that people are looking for this kind of content. People are, you know, that are more serious about woodworking. I mean, they watch the videos, but they're not getting the level of detail from the videos that they would like. They would really like to sink in. And I mean, if you make a really detailed video, the number of people that watch it are a lot less, of course, because there are not that many people that are into that much detail. But the ones that are will probably say that they are very appreciative of that level of detail. They want to see more of that.
The greatest minds and resources were focused on conquering hair loss and prolonging erections. Meanwhile, the population exploded and intelligence continued to decline until humanity was incapable of solving even its most basic problems, like garbage.